Okay, let me try this again. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Golden Goddess Healing Arts channel. And this is your girl, Chan, aka the Golden Goddess. And I'm bringing a very, very, very important message. And very important message that's very near and dear to my heart because I love children and I am a protector of the vulnerable. Like, I despise a bully. I despise an abuser. Um, and I don't like people who, or let's say, I'm not saying I don't like the person. I'll just say that I do not agree with a lot of methods that parents are taking out here to raise their children. And it just has to be addressed. Like, this is going to be filled with curses because I'm just going to be real. All right. Because it's sickening. Let's start with the reason. Now, understand that this is more specific to the Black community. And this is the only community I can speak on because it's a community that I intimately know. And I understand a lot of the psyche and where things stem from. And I don't think a lot of people really take the time and contemplate why things are the way that they are. You know, they just kind of look around and say, oh, this is messed up. And they try to address the symptoms instead of getting back to the root cause and trying to figure out why is this a generational occurrence? Okay? Why does the same thing keep happening from parent to child, parent to child, parent to child along certain bloodlines, right? So let's even talk about the reason why we decide to have children a lot of times. A lot of times you're gonna end up with a teen pregnancy due to the pressures that are placed on women. We really have a lot of pressures on us as young Black African American, whatever you want to call it, Moorish, whatever, Hebrew Israelitish women. Okay. The reason why is because in childhood, a lot of times, especially if you're the oldest female or the only female, when you have parents that work a lot or out of the home a lot, you have a lot of responsibility on you. Sometimes you just have a parent who feels as though they don't have to do much because they have a female child who should now take over the cooking, the cleaning of the house, which I definitely disagree with. I do not believe in children having all this responsibility and burden on them. I don't think people realize how that shrinks a person, how that shrinks a child into believing that. Hold on one second. I said quiet! Close the door! That's another bad habit. Y'all got talking to your kids crazy. I ain't curse at them. I did scream. I actually don't really have that much of an issue with screaming. If you've already told them once or twice in a normal tone, look, this is what I need from you, and they don't do it. Sometimes a little authority and a little raise in pitch is necessary. I would take that any day over putting your hands on a child because you don't know how to communicate, right? But I'm not even going to get to the discipline part yet. I want to talk about why do we even decide to have children. So, like I was saying, a lot of the women in Black households have so much responsibility when they're young. A lot of them do. Not all, but a lot of them do. We raise our girls to be very responsible, to be very independent, to, and there's nothing wrong with that. We want to make sure our children are self-reliant, but putting a bunch of responsibility on them that they don't want and that's really your responsibility is never helpful. It's not freaking helpful. And then we wonder why our teen girls get pregnant when all you've taught them to do is care for children, whether it be their siblings, whether it be their cousins, all they know is how to care for children. So when they get to a place where they meet a young man, and first of all, we're not prepared. We don't prepare our daughters for interactions, healthy interactions with men. Like, it's like and yeah, going back to the childhood dynamic, the way we raise our daughters, being very responsible, uber responsible, making sure we know how to take care of a family, but also making sure we know how to be independent and get our own money. The boys are taught something totally different. The boys are never or seldom taught that family is important. Like, I don't think people realize that you never teach your son the importance of family and then wonder why they're out creating all of these broken homes. When have you taught them the importance of family? You taught your daughter the importance of family because you made her be domestic. You made her cook, clean, wash dishes, make sure to check on her younger siblings and stuff like that. A lot of the times the boys don't have those responsibilities. And so then we just expect them to what? Just grow into that? No, it doesn't happen that way. We coddle the boys. We coddle the boys because we see that a lot of the boys have had such a rough, we see them having a rough time in out in the world, right? And what we do, instead of trying to teach them how to face the world as a strong, secure, take charge individual, what we do is try to shelter them because we don't want them to be hurt. They're our babies. We gotta let that shit the fuck go because we ain't treating the daughters like that. We're not treating our daughters like that, and we're hurting our sons that way. With boys, it's like barely a thing that's being taught. It's like it's barely any structure being taught with boys. Boys, I see them get spoiled. You see how loud this child is? He's upstairs in his room with the door closed, and he that loud. But anyway, we buy the boys very nice clothes. We just tell them, stay out of trouble. You're good. You don't have to do this. You don't have to prepare any meals. You don't have to wash any dishes. You don't have to make sure your younger siblings are straight. You know what I'm saying? None of that. You just gotta go out here and just be. And then on top of that, some parents then come behind and say, when the child get about 10, I've seen it as young as 10, 11, the mother will really come to her child like, what are you doing? You're lazy. You want this and that. You need to be out here making some money. Yeah, you don't understand how toxic that is. To be telling a 10 to 15-year-old child that they need to be earning money and they need to be taking care of the things that they want. No, that's not the place of a child. Stop putting adult responsibilities on children. Okay? No young man is supposed to be out here trying to figure out how to take care of his family or to take care of himself. That's wrong. And especially when you have not even given him the skills to do that. Just get out here and get some money. You better get out here and get it. And be confused when they go out here selling drugs because they want to keep up with their clothing that you spoiled them with. It's just dumb. We're not giving them the foundation that they need. And it's not just single mothers that do that. I've seen men coddle their sons and sit there and not allow them to be men. Men have to be kind of pushed out there and strengthened and given emotional stability when they're young. So not coddling, just a strong emotional foundation, you know, so that they can go out here and they can thrive. So they're not out here feeling unloved. A lot of these young boys feel unloved. They don't know how to honor themselves. They don't know how to honor their body. The, you know, the talk that people have with their sons about sex versus how they have with their daughter about sex. When a father goes to his son and say, "Oh, you need to get some pussy," or "I'm gonna get you some pussy," or "I'm gonna get you some head," and here goes some condoms, son. Huh, 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 huh. The fuck? No, that's not how the hell you're supposed to teach your son about sex. You ain't teach your son that his body is important. His semen should be guarded like the motherfucking pearly gates, all right? You don't tell him how his energy is tied to the release of his semen. We're not teaching our sons that. We teach our sons here, take this condom, don't get nobody pregnant, do you, bust them down. How many chicks you done had? And we teaching our daughters to, build family. Don't give it up to a guy who is not sincere and but we've also taught our daughters, we haven't taught our daughters how to vet a man properly, how to know what the signs to look for. You know, that's why in some ways I can understand the how it used to be back in the day where the parents get together and match the kids up. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, they know the stock that they're coming from. They know their parents and they know, that's how community is built. When you and other families kind of have the same principles that kind of merge together, and then you can strengthen those principles and build upon them and expound on that when you come together. But you got broken home and broken home coming together, making a broken family. So we really have to go back and really address this. Okay, so a lot of women, a lot of females, when they're young, we're looking for this love and affection. I don't know why we just feel like we're supposed to be in motherfucking cuddly teddy bear land once we fall in love or we get in these relationships. Like that's due to Disney and things like that. One thing I can say is that my mother was not big on letting us read fairy tales and falling into that Disney fairy tale type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Because that is very dangerous for a young woman. And that could very much leave her, just like I talked about in the last video, with these unrealistic expectations for another human being. Okay, you have to understand that these are human beings. You have to understand what they know in order to give you what you need. And a lot of these young boys, they have not gotten the proper foundation to even be emotionally available. They're not taught to even tap in and express their feelings. They're told that that's weak. So how are you going to be able to have a conversation and have productive communication with a male, or a male female relationship, when the boy has been taught to disguise his feelings and the girl has been taught to pour them out? We have to come to some type of equilibrium, some type of communion with the way that we raise the boys versus the way we raise the girls, if we want them to come together and not instead have the gender wars that we're having today. The 50-50 wars, the who gets the first plate wars and shit like that. Like the things that some of these guys are concerned with. Like, it's just like, have you been around any men? That's how I feel sometimes. Like, and that's why it's very important to me having 3 boys, to have my sons around some men who I feel are masculine and who are operating in a masculine capacity. Because if my boys are only around me, guess what? The only thing that they're gonna be thinking about is, I don't want my woman to wear weave. Or like, huh? Why is that your focus? That's what you woke up thinking about today? Not how can I solidify myself as a man and compete against other men of other races? Let me tell you something. If these these black men were out producing and competing, really aware that they're competing with men of other races, then they wouldn't have time to worry about what a woman does aesthetically. How do you have time for that when you're building your kingdom? How do you have time for that when you have to provide for children? I don't understand. Like, why is that your focus? And women, like, a lot of times our focus is men, just men, like, literally, like, not how we can, be better from the inside out, how we can make sure we are not putting others before ourselves, because that's what happens a lot of times. Like I said, when the girls have a lot of responsibility, they end up putting everybody else before themselves, and they never really get to figure out who the hell they are and what they want. And so they walking around in zombie mode, yeah, and it looks productive to everybody else because they might be working, they might be earning, you know what I'm saying, they might be juggling a whole bunch of things and making it look easy, but they're miserable because they don't even know who the hell they are and what the hell they want, and what is actually, they haven't even had the space to even figure out what makes me happy. It's like, okay, teen pregnancy is gonna keep happening because you got the girls who want to be find that place where they can surrender, you know? And most of the times it's in the comfort of a man. Okay? Your daughter shouldn't grow up wanting to escape you. Like, escape the home. You got these overbearing, that's very overbearing on the daughter, and allows the boy to just be and do whatever. But then you expect a boy who was raised the same way you raising your son in your household to be able to be everything that your daughter needs, and you're not even preparing your son to be a husband. You're telling your son these bitches ain't shit. That blows my mind. How are you as a mother telling your son bitches ain't shit? Is that what you think about yourself? Why would you want him to go out with that outlook? How is that helpful for him building relationship with a woman? How is that conducive to that? I just don't understand that. These bitches gonna use you for your money. Don't show these bitches a good time. But at the same time, you're out here looking for a man who's going to be chivalrous to you, who's going to stop putting all the load on you, but to be a man and take life by the horns and give you something that you could believe in. Not just the potential, but the results and the consistency. But you don't demand that from your son. So I'm gonna just leave it right there for this video. But this is a topic that I'm definitely gonna keep coming back to, or let this be the first part in a series on the way, it's the series is called Toxic Parenting, because we just downright a lot of us are downright toxic to these children. It's just not, we talking to them any type of way, calling them stupid. You're telling them to do and be something opposite than what you're showing them. You're raising them with so much shame and so much guilt because you haven't taken life by the horns and done what you're supposed to do. So they grow up hiding your issues, right? They end up growing up being ashamed of where they live, or being ashamed of not having. And instead of you making sure that you do more, you feel like your job is done. You had children. Now it's your turn to direct somebody. No, improve yourself every fucking day. Because the more you improve yourself, the more your child can see that it's not too late for me. I can always improve. I don't have to get 30, 40 years old and say, this is me. This is what you see is what you're going to get. Hell no. You should have somebody to look up to, who is constantly improving themselves, constantly trying to see how I can be a better mother, how I could be a, a master of self, how I can stop taking my traumas that I've grown up with and giving them to my child. And just because it happened to you is no excuse for you to perpetuate the same thing. That's crazy. If you know it hurt you, why would you want to go and do that to your child who you claim you love? If you, well, that's the way my parents did it, and you're fucked up. And your parents was fucked up. You got issues with your parents, but you gonna sit up there and say, that's the way my parents did it. And like that's the excuse. And you resent your parents for the exact same thing. You ain't shit and you ain't got shit in life because of those exact same things that you doing to another child. You know, it's just so sad because you could just see the generational cycles, which people call them generational curses, just playing themselves out over and over again. I've watched parents, women, call their children, their daughters, all types of bees and hoes and this, that, and the third, and then you see grandma and she do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? When's it gonna stop? When are you gonna put your foot down and say, look, it's a better way to do this, and I might not know it, but I'm gonna find out. When are you gonna do that? Or are you gonna just keep creating a cycle of violence and abuse and underachieving? Like, these boys are out here killing each other because they're so emotional. They don't know how to take a slight to their ego because they're leading with emotion. They're leading with a bunch of feelings, a bunch of unresolved feelings. They're just out here. You know what I'm saying? They don't know how to act. They don't know how to honor their bodies. They don't know how powerful their words are. So they're calling death and destruction to themselves and calling it rapping. Do you know that's a spell? The same ingredients that go into a rap is the same ingredients that go into a spell. Words, your voice, your thought, your intention, a rhythm, a rhyme. That's a spell. And you don't mind keep putting these spells over yourself? I want all the smoke. Nigga run up on me, nigga gonna feel it. Nigga can't catch me slipping. Like, and then the nigga catch you slipping. Because you asked for it. You called it to you. And it's just so sad because you never know when that person's spiritual guides have had enough with them. Because your spiritual guides are going to tell you, hey, you shouldn't be saying this, you shouldn't be doing this. But the parent, the mother or the father then already told that child, that son, you better get money. So they think the best way to get money is to rap about violence, calling it to them, or to aspire to be a athlete, which we know the chances of that happening are very slim. It's a very slim amount of people who make it to be professional athletes, and those that do usually have parents who have the money to invest in professional coaching and stuff like that, or just a naturally talented child who they have created some type of haven around so that they can prosper, or somebody took them under the wing. It's just not random, okay? That's what I'm trying to say. So, you know, was it a rapper or athlete or a drug dealer? Like, you're not giving a lot of these black boys enough. And because we know the forces that are working against them, we know that as soon as they get 18 and maybe even before that, the police come and make sure they get a mugshot of them, make sure they arrest them, even if it's something bogus. You know what I'm saying? They want them in the system so that everything else can be harder for them. Once they become a felon, you can't own a gun, you can't vote. So you start feeling like an outcast, and then you feel like, drugs is the only way that you can survive, or doing illegal practices is the only way that you can make it, because you've been excluded from society, because society has said you're a bad apple, you're a rotten apple. So they just, well, shit, if I ain't no good, then I'm gonna just continue to be no good. Like, I'm gonna just be the best at being no good. And that's what happens a lot of times. We not even teaching children about weapons. Like, if gun violence is an issue, people are not going to agree with this, but let me tell you, this is proven. White kids don't have these type of issues a lot of times with just taking a gun and shooting another kid, shooting another teenager and stuff like that. Why? Because they know about guns. Like, their parents have had a legal firearm. They showed them that, look, this is not a toy. This can be the difference between life and death. Okay? This is not something that you need to carry around with you. It's something that can take a life, and that can have a very huge toll on you, and it can also attract to you some negativity. Having a weapon for no reason is just a recipe for disaster. I've seen older OGs in the hood give guns to 12-year-olds and be like, honey, go handle your business. No, so it's a whole different relationship that we have with firearms than, say, a young white kid who grew up in the country. They know how to shoot shotguns. They know how to aim. Like, these dudes in the hood, they get a gun one day and they shooting at somebody the next day, and they shooting every innocent person that's a bystander. You're not even teaching these children about, like, if they're gonna have guns, first of all, teach them at a young age what the importance of it, how to use it, and what it's used for. It's not used for a slight to your ego. It's not used for somebody stepped on your toes. It's not used for somebody who said something crazy. That's not what the gun is for. The gun is to protect your person against someone who's gonna do bodily harm towards you. It's for protection. It's for defense. Not for you to go out and say, not for you to go out and be a death dealer to anybody who crossed your path and you don't like how y'all crossed. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like a whole list of things that we don't even talk to. You up here telling your child how to react when they get pulled over. Like, I mean, I ain't even gonna get into that part about how we instill all this fear into these children. We instill so much fear into them. That's gonna be in another segment when I kind of touch on how we were raised in a dogmatic type of environment. A lot of us, where it's so much fear. It's fear based, and so everything that comes from fear based lessons only instills more fear and more kind of like a burden. It's a weight on you. You're fearing hell, you're fearing God's wrath, you're fearing so much. And that's just on that end. You also have to worry about the things that you can actually see that are scary. So we don't understand how we're raising children in an environment of so much fear because of our own worry and our own anxiety and the things that may not have worked out for us. And you're scaring children from even exploring these type of things. You know what I'm saying? So I'll get to that bit another time. I'm just going to leave this one the way it is. I think I've said enough for now. So try to really understand where I'm coming from, and understand as a parent that you want to raise a trauma-free child. That's the goal. Let me raise a trauma-free child. Let me raise a child that doesn't have to spend the first part of their adulthood trying to recover from their childhood. Okay? Can we springboard our children into success? Can we give our children the basic things that we know we didn't get, the education, just even if you're presenting just the possibility of them investing in stocks, just the possibility of them getting a trade and learning how to turn that into a business, you know, just instilling, even if it's not something that you did or that you know how to do, just put a bug in their ear. Just help them expand their mind. Don't give them a narrow view of how to operate in the world. Expose them to as much as you can so they can have enough information to make a decision. We're not even giving our children options. You know what I'm saying? We're making them think that their worth lies in making women think that their worth lies in taking care of somebody else before they take care of themselves. We're making boys think their worth lies in just going out to get money at the expense of yourself, you know? So we have to really carefully sit down and think about how we want our children to show up in the world and what we're instilling in them so that they can do that. So thank you so much for taking the time out to listen to this. Toxic Parenting Part 1. And I'll definitely come back with more. And I hope that this has been helpful in beginning the journey to healing yourself as a parent. Because healing yourself and working on yourself without even telling your mom, your dad, without even telling your children, you're healing them on a spiritual level. You're healing their DNA. So, see you later.